Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Other Record Labels. I'm your host, Scott Orr. Thanks so much for joining in. If you haven't already, make sure you hit up our website, otherrecordlabels.com, where I am putting some new resources up there. And of course, we have our free guide for indie record labels, but we also have now a checklist for how to start a record label. So if you haven't seen that, you can grab that at otherrecordlabels.com or otherrecordlabels.com/checklist. But in that resource section, there's going to be a lot more resources coming. I think there's 3 right now, and I have a couple ideas for some other stuff. I want to talk today about kind of something that stuck with me when we did an interview with Philip of Z Tapes. Z Tapes, or as our American friends call it, Z Tapes, is this incredible label that's been around for a few years, and they have, they're very prolific. Philip has an extensive catalog, and most of his cassettes are sold out. I went to get a couple just the other day, and some of the ones that I was looking for are gone. And so they do tapes really well, and they've been doing that for a while, and they're highly respected and loved. And the interview was quite popular. When I was listening back to the interview, actually, when I did the interview a couple months ago, something stood out to me right away, because I asked Philip, and this is what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about the concept of as a label owner, as running a label or starting a label, is not to do everything. Don't do everything. Not to feel that pressure that every single facet of the music industry is something that we need to learn and figure out. That's not necessarily the case. And this is very similar to what we talked about when I did a recap from the Asian Man records about managing expectations. But today I want to talk about that pressure that we put on ourselves, or that maybe even other people or artists put on us to figure everything out. And so I want to kind of dive into that. When I did the interview with Philip, something stood out to me right when I was doing that interview, right when he said it, and I haven't been able to forget it since. I asked him about streaming. I said, do you guys release your albums on streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Music? And he said no. He said that he doesn't really know much about that. He doesn't know much about the playlist world. It's not his area of expertise, or he's not very passionate about it. And so he decided not to do it, because that's not something he's good at. He's definitely good at releasing tapes. That's what they're known for. But when it came to streaming, that wasn't an area that he was passionate about. And so he actually said that he just doesn't do it. I thought that was really respectful of the artist, and that took a lot of guts for someone, and a lot of humility for someone to say, there's actually something I'm just not going to do because I don't know how to do it, or I'm not good at it. It's not my area of expertise, and so I'm going to leave it. So many of us try to do everything. We try to just hustle, make sure we check all the boxes and do things even if we're not good at it. And I think that's a problem, and I think that there's a really good lesson to be learned here from this episode, where that the interview with Z Tapes, and by the way, you should listen to it. It was really fun to do. But I think the lesson to take away is to make sure that we don't put this pressure, or allow pressure, to be honest, to do things with our label that maybe aren't right for us, that we're not excited about, that doesn't energize us. This could be streaming, it could be marketing, it could be website design, it could even be touring. Here, I want to talk about real quick, and I don't want to take too much of your time, but here's how to avoid feeling like you need to do everything and to be everything with your label. There's 3 things I want to say. I hope you find them helpful. It was helpful for me as a reminder. There's a lot of quotes about saying no, and why saying no is good for business. And it's something that, as a business owner, that you need to learn how to do. The first thing is to not compare yourself to other labels. This is a huge thing, and I think we should do a whole episode on it. And Instagram and Twitter really doesn't help with everything, but there's a huge temptation to compare ourselves to other labels. I do it all the time. I'm following a label, and they're more prolific than I am, or they have a certain kind of release that I'm jealous about, or they're doing 7 inches, so now I think maybe I should do 7 inches, or they're doing more vinyl than they used to, so now I feel pressure to do more vinyl. Maybe they're doing cassettes. My audience doesn't like cassettes, but I'm jealous of this label because they're doing cassettes and they look so cool. So I start to do that too. There's all these different things, or maybe they have an Instagram strategy, or maybe now they're doing live streaming, or maybe they're hosted a music festival in their city. There's all these things that maybe aren't my area of expertise and aren't something that I'm deep down truly passionate about, but I'm feeling this peer pressure that social media puts on me. because I'm comparing myself to other labels. That's how you really get into a situation where you are doing something that you aren't totally passionate about. Sorry, I got to fix my mic here. It's sagging and drooping a little bit. So really, that is one of the biggest things. And I've found myself comparing myself to my label to other labels and thinking maybe we should do this. And that's just no way to be creative. Competition is the opposite of creativity. So try never to think like that. Identify areas. This is the second one. Identify areas of the music industry that you aren't good at. So first of all, we need to stop and say, okay, I'm not going to compare myself to other labels. And I need to, and this is what Philip did. He said that streaming was just not for him. And he doesn't have anything against streaming. But it's, he had mentioned in the episode that this just wasn't necessarily one of his area of expertise. And so we need to quickly sit down with a pen and paper, meditate for a couple of minutes and think of what are the areas that I'm not passionate about? What are the things that I'm really not good at? Or what are the things I just really don't like doing? For me, I've said this before, it's always been the live component of things, or things that I find a lot of stress and anxiety in controlling the live environment. I don't like staying out late. I don't like leaving my house, although now I'm ready to leave my house. But, I think it's important to write down these things that you don't like doing, so that for the future, hey, look, these are my things. And I think it's important to be upfront and transparent. The final thing is to focus what you are good at. And we go back to this episode with Zed Tapes, and they are known for tapes and cassettes. And they have well over 100 releases, and people buy from them all the time. People buy 5 or 10 or 20 tapes from them. And that's what they're known for. And so I do think it's important from a brand perspective to focus on what you're good at, what you're known for. And how do we do that? How do we find out what it is? Well, a lot of us will know deep down what the areas that really excite us. And of course, there are parts of running a label like accounting that nobody's excited about. And, that there are some responsibilities you still have to do. But when it comes to like actual big facets or initiatives or projects that you might feel pressured to do, or you think maybe you should do, you should really reevaluate that and focus on the things that you're really good at. A couple of days ago, about a year ago, I found this in my journal and I did it again this year, but a year ago, what I did was maybe hopefully you can visualize this, but I wrote across the top of the page all these initiatives that I have in my life and in my business, various different things that I do to try to make money or to try to promote, whatever, these just ideas that I have. And I wrote them across the page, and then that was kind of like a row across the top. And then down the left column, I'm making a graph here or a chart. The left column, I did things where like, how good am I at this project? How much money does this project make? How much do people like it? How much do I enjoy doing it? How easy is it? And so I did all these categories, like 5 different categories. And then I wrote a score for each project. So say for like the podcast, it's like, am I good at it? Well, I don't know. Maybe let's say like a 7 out of 10. Do I enjoy doing it? Heck yes. 10 out of 10. Do I make money at it? No. 0 out of 10. Do people enjoy it? Yeah, I think so. So far, 8 out of 10. How easy is it? It's maybe a 7 out of 10. So I take all of those and I give that project a score out of 50. And I did that with like 6 or 7 different kind of careers or projects or ideas that I have on the go at any one time or that year. And what that does is that data actually gives you like a quantifiable answer as to what are the things that I should be focusing on. There's these things that I do that I have as part of my label or part of my life that actually I don't enjoy, that doesn't get a good response, doesn't make money, and kind of coming up with the score for each one of these projects, you can really find what are the 1 or 2 things I should be narrowing down. So you don't have to go that elaborate, but there might be ways for you to figure out what are the things that you're really good at. For a lot of us, we know already. It doesn't take much for us to figure out. But I just want to encourage you with that. That really stuck in my mind. And again, we did this interview a couple months ago, and that has not left my mind. And when this episode was coming up, we were going to release it. I knew this was something I wanted to talk about because it really stood out to me. I mean, streaming and Spotify is so popular, and for some people, it shows promise with going after playlisters. But so for Philip to say, we're not doing that because that's not my area of expertise and I don't want to mislead the bands, I thought that was incredibly humble and incredibly wise. And I just thought it was a great business move to help manage people's expectations and to help manage your own stress. So I hope that's an encouragement for you. I hope you find that helpful. Don't spend money on things that don't make money. Don't spend energy or waste energy on things that don't energize you. I mean, this is supposed to be a fun project, running a record label, and try to keep the main thing. I hope you're doing well. I know it's tough, and I hope there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm ready to go to a gig, and I don't even like going to shows, but right about now I could stand to go for a show, no matter how late it goes, no matter how cold the venue is. I'd go at this point. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Go to our website to check out our previous episodes. You can email me too if you have any thoughts or questions at podcast@otherrecordlabels.com. And you can go to our website, otherrecordlabels.com, for all of the resources we have there. Thank you so much for tuning in.